Well, we've had the great games, we've had the good games, we've had the better than good games. Now it's time for the really great games. Before we get into the greatest games of all time.
The greatest. I think we're just going to add another really for a second then.
That's the potential of the idea. That's where we're going to go with these. Hello, everyone. My name is Luke, and that is Ross, and welcome to Top of the Box, where we are picking up our next games in our top 50 list. We have done 3 of these already, so we've gone through some great games. We've not had that much in terms of crossover.
We've not.
Which is surprising. We've not had anything equal, but we have had a few games that we both have had.
I'm going to be curious. I mean, I don't even think now we're necessarily going to have a lot of crossover. I think it's going to be the top 10. You know what? Even the top 10, I don't think we will.
I don't think so.
It's so funny, right? Because we play games so much together.
Yes.
But for us to have varying tastes just shows how much we tolerate the other person's taste in games.
Well, yeah, I mean, you thought number 21 was Sushi Go Party, and...
Yeah.
What?
What a great game.
A lunatic. Anyway, we're going to go through our next 10 games on our list, and we're going to see where we go with that. Then we'll get into the greatest games in the next video. So keep an eye out for that. Until then, let's roll into number 20.
So, 20. The 20th. I don't think it's going to appear on your list anywhere.
It's a good start.
Yep. And it's literally right over my shoulder a little bit up here. It's Small World.
Oh, yeah, no, it's nowhere near my list.
So, I think this, again, without having to pre-emphasis every time I pick a game, I'm just going to say it once at the beginning of the video, is a lot of my list has been like a nostalgia thing, right? So I'm like, I really want to play this game again, or I really miss the days when it opening up. So I think this sits in there. If I had to redo this list with like games I've played in like the last, 12 months, last 6 months, it probably wouldn't even be in the top 50, I think, maybe, or it'd be very low in the top 50.
Yeah.
So it snuck in there at 20, and I think it goes because it was, as I was doing the choices, it was would I like to play this? Yeah, because I haven't played it in a while and I want to play it. Anyway, so Small World, kind of like Risk, but without any dice rolling, which is also brilliant for me. You have a board with territories on it. You have Fantasy World factions and powers. They kind of get comboed up. You're playing tokens down on the board. Eventually, your faction goes into decline, and then you pick a new one, and you just cycle through and try to score points. That's the gist.
It's very simple. It's very straightforward. I find with Small World, it's very... If you get a good faction that lasts you for a good chunk of turns, if you get 2 good factions back to back, there's that luck base, which is weird because I'm normally the one who likes a little bit more luck in the game, but there's not as much control over what's going on, I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm salty about it because I got destroyed the last time we played it. That is entirely possible.
Yeah.
I think there are better area control games, personally. I don't think area control games work well at 2 either, generally.
No, you're probably right, yeah, because it's just... essentially it just becomes back and forth, doesn't it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, particularly with Small World, where one faction goes out and then it kind of ebbs back and then the other one just pushes forward, so you're just like bouncing slightly between, so then it literally comes down probably to the... You say like the kind of more of the randomness. Then at that point, there's not really as much sort of strategy behind it. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe if you get like a big chunky faction, like if you get the Amazons and Undead, I think gives you a bunch of Rat Folk Amazons or something.
And then
like
you have it matched with something like Barbarian, which gives you a free die roll at the beginning of the combat or whatever. And then obviously you just don't use as many tokens. You just spam the board. So I've got loads of expansions as well, which I haven't really played much of, but. Which you might like. Maybe. At least one of them adds a little bit of extra flavour to it, I think, because like an island in the middle you control or whatever.
Need to give it another go, I think. It makes sense. My number 20 pick is... I've always said board games are good for building character. And this board game is literally about building characters. It is Role Player, the game from Thunderbox Games, which set off an entire universe, including cartographers, lockup, all sorts of things that come from it. It's just a game where you're rolling dice, you're drafting dice, and then using them to build a character. And I think it's a really interesting system. It's a really good, fun system. That's literally the entirety of the game. Like, you're buying items and equipment to bolster your stats in some way if you want to, and to score additional points. You've got a pattern, kind of like in Sagrada, where you have if you put your dice here, you'll score more points. You've got alignments that you kind of have to maneuver your die to if you want to maximise your points on that one. So you've got all sorts of different character traits that you're trying to purchase, build upon, different abilities to go to, which I think is really cool for someone like me who is a DM. Which you can check out some of our videos here at Eat Quit Survive.
Good plug.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. But you can go, you can just build a bunch of NPCs. In fact, the last time we played this on stream, Dom, Laura, and I made a note of all the character stats. I made a note of all the different bits and pieces, and they are going to turn up at some point as NPCs.
Nice, that's cool. That's cool.
Because why not?
I think we've only played this digitally. I think
we have, yes.
I've only played it digitally, I should say. It was good. It was good, but I think I need to play it again. I probably need to play it physically. The thing that I think they're missing is like West Kingdom games where you got like the tome, which kind of like links. It needs a great opportunity to like link everything together, right? Where you play role player to make your character. You play cartographers to create a world map. They just recently are about to release a new game which is about building a dungeon.
Yes.
So then you could place your dungeon on that map and then have your character go through it. Do you know what I mean? So I think it seems like there's a perfect opportunity to like link all of it together.
Well, there is the expansions, the monsters and minions, and then foes and familiars, which I have monsters and minions because I picked it up at Aircon back in March. I haven't got it to the table yet, but it gives you a monster to fight at the end of it.
Okay, that's cool.
That gives you something a little bit. It doesn't just stop at the character creation aspect.
Yeah.
Which some people are kind of like, what am I going to do with this character now? If you're a D&D player, you go and put that character into a one shot or something. But there you go. So that's our number 20s. Let's go into 19. So my number 19. By the way, the fact that I've been editing this so much, we both say so right before.
Oh, do we?
so. Yeah, we go, so, my number, and we just keep doing that, and every time it happens, I go, how many of these can I edit out? I usually do edit. You just got to keep chunking them in. Because we always go so, and then I break. Anyway. Let's get say it. My number 19 is a game that is all about, it's a surprise hit for me, because it was something that's, the theme's not something I'd necessarily gravitate towards. But it's a kind of interesting dice placement rondelle system that you're sort of moving around, getting resources, claiming different things, and sort of gaining those different powers, and sort of building a tiny little engine from it. And that is Red Cathedral.
Okay.
Which
not
is
played.
No, you haven't played it yet. Which we need to. We'll add it to the list. It's a big game in a really small box. Like the box is like yay big, but it's packed of stuff. And what you're basically doing is you're going around this rondelle, picking up a die of a particular colour. You can move around the rondelle. You can claim a part of the Red Cathedral in Russia to build, and just go, I'm going to claim that one so I can build it later. Once I built it, resources, or you can transfer resources across to actually construct that part of the cathedral. But there's a little bit of engine building that you can do as you move around and you claim different things. You can gain tiles that will benefit the die that you choose. So you can go, I'll take the yellow die and I'll move it around and it will get me gold as I land here. It's a bit value of 4, so it'll give me 3 of these or whatever. But because I move the yellow die, I'm also getting this benefit, or I get the benefit of the green die or something. And it's just a really interesting system. I think it's just there's a lot of fun little game. It's got a good variety as well, because there are 4 different guilds that you can go to and do different stuff. So you can manipulate the dice, you can move resources around, you can get prestige points. It's got a 2-tone track, effectively, that you've got reputation and prestige, that if you move up around the reputation track, it's sort of like small progressions, but reputation can get you big jumps in points up until sort of towards the end of the game, which is it's a really interesting way of doing things. And there's a good expansion that's come out that I've not played yet, but I've heard really good things about the Contracts expansion, so I want to give that a go. But I need to play a lot more Red Cathedral, because it is a really good game. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah. I'm keen to play. Cool. Do you want to hear mine?
After Small World, I'm not sure. But go on.
Yeah. I think this one's better.
It's at least one better.
It is at least one better. Brass Birmingham is my next game. So,
wait, really? Have you actually played Brass Birmingham yet?
I've actually played it probably more than I've played some of my other games, to be fair, particularly the ones which are further up this list.
I've
probably played it.
I thought you'd only played Lancashire, because your Birmingham's still in shrink.
Oh, you're right, I have. I've got the wrong one. We'll swap it out then. So my number 19 is Brass Lancashire. Just to fix that.
I need to put like a record skip in the edit.
Yeah. Okay, mad. So a game where it sounds like the most boring game in the world when you're trying to explain it, but it's like Industrial Revolution, trying to move coal, iron, wool around, trying to score victory points, kind of a two-parter game. I've more frequently only played the first half just because it tends to be a bit of a longer game, and the people who usually can rope into a game aren't really gamers, and I've already convinced them enough to play that. I don't really want to pushing it. So yeah, it's a good one. Obviously I've got both of them, like we've kind of discussed, but I've only played one, so I need to really make a decision, crack the other one out, see whether I like the one or the other more. But yeah,
I've heard Birmingham is better. I mean, Birmingham at time of recording, I think, is number 1 on BGG.
Okay.
It may have moved around. There was the whole Gloomhaven Brass pandemic thing that happened in the last couple of months, so that's still a thing. So, but I think people do genuinely think Birmingham is better. I think for us, we live in the Midlands, so there's some locations that we're gonna see that we don't necessarily get in Lancashire. There's a whole beer economy in there. Your connections, your train tracks, all sorts of things. I've only played Lancashire once, a very long time ago with you.
Yes.
So yeah, we definitely need to get both of those to the table and give them a go. See what happens.
Birmingham is just checked. Birmingham is number 1 as of time of recording.
There you go. That will either date us or it will be perpetual for the rest of time, because that's how people do things with these lists. Interesting. So yeah, that's our number 19s. Let's go into 18.
So no, I'm just kidding. My 18. Again, probably not going to be registering in a list because we've already gone through a couple of them already. Agricola, depending which way you want to say it.
Trash game.
That's not gonna. I played it. Obviously, I've got the physical copy. I played it quite a lot. I played it again. I've mentioned it before. Played it with the wife. Hook her in with the cute animal meeples and stuff. But I played it more recently on BGA, and I think I've actually good at it now. I think I was just skimming by, but I feel like I've actually got the system down a little bit.
Yeah,
so
that's fair. I can corroborate that.
I'm enjoying it a little bit more again now. Do you know what I mean? Because I got to the point where I'm like, this is kind of a fun game, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I actually understand like the strategy behind it a little bit, and so I'm going to enjoy get a little bit of extra enjoyment out of it. So game where you basically are managing a farm, I guess. And the biggest bit is you have to feed your family every year, and that's the thing which I will mention because that's what deflates you probably the most about the game. I wonder if there's a house rule you could do to like somehow remove that as a thing.
The thing
without breaking it.
It might be a me understanding of the game and getting the right sequence of actions in play, and not understanding how the action cards work. Because I played it predominantly on BGA more than I have played physically.
Yes.
So it might just be because I'm not as familiar with it. My mind doesn't remember the jobs and the improvements and sort of the minor improvements. Sometimes I click on a thing and go, I get a minor improvement. Why can't I do this? Yeah. And it's not clear as to
you have
why
to plan,
I can't
right?
Do it. Yeah,
because you could be at a minor improvement, and be like, this is great, and then it's like you need X number of resources in order to play that. Yeah. And you're like, well, if I'd known that, I would have been doing that for the last 3 turns. But then if you wait 3 turns from where you are, it's probably the end of the game, or you've got other priorities like feeding your family or whatever that you need to do. So you just can't. So I can appreciate. Like I say, I think where did I have Caverna? At number 28.
Caverna was 28,
So it might switch at some point. I don't own Caverna, so I don't know whether that will ever really realistic happen because, again, just where you get played, but they're kind of similar.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway, I'll stop waffling.
No, it's fine. You like a bit of an Uwe, I think. I think you've had that Feast for Odin and Caverna on there has all popped up. I'd like to try a Tiwa at some point. The sort of the bat game in Ghana. We'll have to, if we go to a game cafe, we'll try and track it down.
Yep. Yeah.
My 18 could not be more different, but it's one that we've already talked about, so we won't go too deeply into it. It's Steampunk Rally Fusion Atomic Edition. This is Ross talked about it. It popped up in your list. Where was it last time? It was 24, so it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it's kind of simple. Hey, that's not bad.
Close enough. Within 6.
We've got one kind of close.
Within 6. But it's a game where you are drafting a bunch of machine parts. You're taking an explorer onto a race and going around different tracks. There's a Mars track, there's the Alps, there's all sorts of different things in this one because you've got the Steampunk Rally Fusion and you've got Steampunk Rally sort of smashed in together. But you've got different historical figures, inventors and intelligent scientists and all sorts of stuff. They're building an engine to wacky races away around a track using 4 different resources: steam, electricity, coal or fire, and nuclear if you manage to get those in. But you can vent the dice out so you can sort of build into the engine a little bit more. And just
I love how you said you weren't going to talk about it much, but you've literally explained how to play the game. So
pretty much.
That's the passion behind it, I guess.
It's a really good game. I need to play it more because it's a lot of fun. I've not really explored the fusion aspect. I've only really sort of focused on the initial steampunk because I think we've just gone to go, okay, let's explore this and then we'll go into it. Yeah, it's a good game. Well done, Roxley. Really good game.
Too good.
Yeah, that's 18. Let's go to 17. All right, 17. So my 17 is one that you did touch on right back in the first video, in fact. Wow. And it's come up a fair chunk for me since I first did the list back in January when I rendered this. It's a cute game, and I think that's all that needs to be said about it. It's Flamecraft. It's an adorable game. There's a really interesting worker placement element to it of you're just putting out dragons to go and do wonderful dragon things and gain resources or enchant a shop and just gain the powers of the shops and all sorts of fun little stuff. Laura and I played it on stream. We played it the physical version on stream. It worked really well, the two of us. I think it's a really good game to play potentially distanced. If you've got 2 sets, you could easily set up the cards and do all sorts of stuff. The dragons have all got cute names. There's puns. So many puns.
The shop puns are good. They're really good.
Big fan of the shop puns. I think it scales really well as well.
Good pun.
Thank you. I've played it predominantly at 2. I know it can play solo. I've played it at 4, and I think it scales really well. The game's still really snappy, and you still have that nice competition for things. Do I think I think there's a little bit of a need of an expansion at some point. I think they will get to a point where you come to it. I think there is something planned in the works, either a sequel or a standalone sequel or an expansion or just something in that universe that will come things out. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But yeah, it's a really good game. It's cute. It's fun. It's lovely.
And I mentioned this before, we won't go too deep into it, but yes, it is cute and it is fun. And I think sometimes that holds it back a little bit, but not in a actual game manner sense, but in a people's perception of it kind of sense, right? Because I think there's a bit of a hurdle for it to overcome initially, and I think that is part of my reservation, right? I'm like, I've only played it once, so I can't be too I think once, and you can't be too critical of it. But I'm a bit like, oh, this was fun to play, but I'm like, was it fun to play, or did I just like all the cute stuff and the puns and everything else? And actually, but I think it is. I think it is a good. You kind of played it enough times that you can kind of. I trust your opinion, particularly on board games. So I think it's probably deserving, isn't it, to be up there for you?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think you're absolutely right there. And I think I talked about this previously. I think it probably has replaced like Lords of Waterdeep as my entry level worker placement game.
Yes,
because it's adorable. You're going to get people to want to play.
The theme's much easier.
Yes, a lot softer. What's your 17?
Oh yes, my 17. My 17. We've definitely discussed, and maybe it's closer to where it sits on yours. Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition, to be clear.
Okay. My Ares Expedition was a lot lower down.
Yeah.
I was at 41.
Yes. So I much prefer it, I think, over Terraforming. I love a box, a big box with a board, lots of pieces, and everything else. So that's good.
It does.
But there's just something, I don't know. I don't want to say simple. That's not really the right word. Just clear. So it could be quite a complex game, right? Terraforming Mars. We're trying to stack lots of strategy. I just felt like, this is quite. I particularly prefer the player boards, right, and how you manage the resources within that. If I'm making any sense at all.
Yes.
It makes it much. So, in fact, explain what it is. So it's more of a card drafting kind of. What's the word I'm after?
Action selection, kind of tableau builder.
Yeah, tableau builder. These are all the good things. So, Yeah, but I mean, it's basically a more compact, smaller version of Terraforming Mars.
Yeah,
and I can get behind that a little bit.
yeah, that's fair.
So,
I think it has also that mechanism that, excuse me, you particularly enjoy from Race for the Galaxy. That these are the 5 actions. We're each going to pick one, and then if you pick it, you get the benefit from it, or
Yes,
a bigger
yes.
benefit from it, but we both get to do it, sort of thing. Which is
yeah,
interesting to sort of try and build different strategies around that. I think you're right about the player boards. The double layer player boards that come as standard in Terraforming Mars Ares
Yes.
Expedition are great. That doesn't mean I haven't bought dual layer board
Yes.
for regular
Yes.
Terraforming Mars because I
all the 3D components and everything else. I mean, you've got a really proper.
blinked. I pimped out my game.
yeah.
I need to get the metal
Yeah.
cubes for it, but that's another thing. Anyway, yeah, I agree. It's a good game. It's lower on my list. I haven't played it as much. Mind you, you've only played it once, so you've got
Yes.
a very high opinion of it, which is always a good thing.
I think I played it twice.
We played regular
Maybe.
Terraforming Mars twice. I think we've only played. I've only played Ares Expedition once or twice. So
Okay.
it's
I feel like I played more than that, but maybe not.
maybe might have not been with me. Who have you been
I
playing
don't know
with?
where else
Ross?
would have played it, but I don't know. But maybe not. I don't know.
All right, that's 17. Let's go to 16.
So I can kick us off with the 16, as I say the word so. Again, a game which it comes into that nostalgia kind of or I want to play scenario, but a little bit more than that as well is I want to play it with more players basically, really, to get a full like, do I love this game? Should it be where it is on this list, or does it need to drop off a little bit?
Okay.
Is Eclipse. So I've
Yes, okay.
played Eclipse 4 times, I think, 3 times, 4 times, but only ever with 3 players, and you don't, from memory anyway, you don't have the diplomacy step of the game with less than 3 or less players, I think, from memory now. So whenever I played, I feel like I missed a chunk of the game, and it might also be that now that I played Twilight Imperium, that this gets booted out and Twilight Imperium goes potentially in this.
Really?
Potentially. Because it's kind of obvious. Eclipse is like say stripped back, it's still quite a big game, but a stripped back version of Twilight Imperium, right? So, but yeah, really good game. Sort of a 4X, space themed. You're upgrading your ships, you're flying through space, you're having battles, all this good stuff, basically, and just trying to be the best, I don't know,
Like no one ever
king
was.
of the galaxy. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I've not really played. I think we tried to play Eclipse, and we didn't actually get round to it. I think the teach went a little long. We were quite tired, so we didn't actually get into it. We do need to play it, because I feel like it's something I might enjoy. Something more than, I've only played Twilight Imperium digitally, and I don't like.
I think you have to exclude any experience you've had with Twilight Imperium.
I am trying really hard to do that because I am hating my experience right now.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a game of it, for full disclosure, and it's just the system that we're playing on is just making me want to gouge my eyeballs out because it's just not fun. It's just problematic. But anyway, that's a me thing. So yeah, need to play Eclipse. We'll add it to the list. We'll try and get a big group together at some point to do.
Yeah, I need to be played by the end of the year, so it's going to
make it happen. We'll pencil it in for the stag.
Yep.
My number 16 is, I've talked before about my love of games that you can have massive amounts of expansions for, that are interactable and are playable together, and you can try all sorts of different things. Talk about it with Villainous. This one is Unmatched.
Mm-hmm.
I think Unmatched is it's a skirmish game where you are basically taking your characters. You can match up whoever you want, like King Arthur with Medusa, or Daredevil from the Marvel Universe with Alice in Wonderland,
Little Red Riding Hood,
or Little Red Riding Hood. I think is. Yeah, I think she's in one of them, but I haven't played with that set. But yes, is one of them. But all sorts of things like Bigfoot and all sorts of stuff. And you just fight against each other. You just do all sorts of different things. You can just send them off into a full-on skirmish battle, and I think it's a lighter version of a skirmish game, which I appreciate, because I'm not a huge war theme kind of guy. It's not really my bag. But having this with these sort of like different characters is kind of fun to think about those different iterations of combinations you can have to go and explore these different maps. I just like it. I like it. It's a lot of fun. It's a relatively easy game to pull out and fill in a bit of space. It's not too difficult to teach as a rules overhead. You can just go, okay, who's your favourite character out of these sets? Oh, do you want to play Sherlock Holmes? Cool. I'll go with Bullseye. From Marvel, not from Toy Story. I felt like I need to make that distinction for some reason.
That's the case.
Just in case.
I do like Unmatch, and I prefer it over, and maybe it's maybe an unfair comparison, but Dice Throne, which is sort of same sort of skirmishy, but not in the same way, because it's not a board. You're obviously rolling dice. But I think that's why I like it, right? Because it feels much more tactical, because you've got to think about how you're positioned, and then the abilities that are available to you based on whichever character you're playing. So I do really enjoy it, actually, Unmatched. And it does have that lovely sweet spot where they can just keep bringing out new characters, and sort of ever expand. Yeah,
I mean they finished the Kickstarter in the last couple of months for a co-op version.
Oh, nice.
For Tales to a Maze, I think, which is shipping out to backers. It's one of those short turnaround times on a Kickstarter.
Yes.
For all that sort of stuff. But they're then going to ship it out to the various parts of the UK and Europe and all the rest of the world. So it'll be interesting to see how that does, because you can then take your characters from previous sets and you can throw them into that scenario.
Yes.
Which I think is really interesting. So there'll be plenty more to come on that, I think.
Yeah.
All right, that's our 16s. Let's go into 15. My 15, I think, is a game that harkens back to an early period in my board gaming career lifespan, in that there are trains and there's route building, but it is not Ticket to Ride.
Oh.
It's Maglev Metro.
Because you did nearly have me then. I nearly did think you were going to go Ticket to Ride. I was going to be a little bit surprised.
Yeah. Maglev Metro, because in Maglev Metro you are building out a maglev system, a magnetic train system into various cities, going across New York and Germany in the base game, and then there's 6 new maps that have been released, which I really want to play. I've got them, I haven't played them yet, but you can get the meeple. You basically have a movable engine of robots that you can adjust the action strength, because you have 2 actions per turn. And the strength of it is dependent on how many robots you have within that system. So you can go, okay, I'm going to put a robot here, robot here, robot here, and I'm going to have, when I do the track action, I'm going to have 4 track pieces that I can put down. Or I can do a move action, I can move my train a number of stations and such. And I think it's really clever and really interesting, and there's a lot of different things you can do with it. And with the different maps that are now available, I think that's...
Yes.
It fills the niche of Ticket to Ride is a quite simple set collection, route placement, that kind of thing, and contract fulfillment.
Yeah.
I think you have a similar aspect of that with Maglev Metro, but it's a lot more strategic because of how you're manoeuvring your pieces around. So there's a little bit more of an engine build that's going into there.
You're making the route essentially with the tiles that you place down. I really like the different shaped tracks, I guess.
Yeah, the acrylic tiles.
Same shaped tile, different shaped track on it. It's depending on how you're positioning it, depends on how it links up. So there's an extra level to it, isn't there?
It's a good puzzly level, which I appreciate. I appreciate that in that sort of game.
Yes.
Need to try out the different maps, see how they go, because I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So that's my 15. What's yours?
Ooh, awesome. My 15 is of a similar vein to Steampunk Rally, as we kind of mentioned. At least I think so, anyway. And it's probably one of the only games that you would always have convinced Connor to play, and it's Galaxy Trucker.
Yes.
So now I'll explain Galaxy Trucker, then I'll explain why it's always going to sit in the top sections of any list I ever produce. So Galaxy Trucker, essentially you have loads of spaceship components to face down. You're flipping them over one by one. You're deciding if you want to keep them or not, and then you're building a ship up. Then you look to see if your ship has any illegal placement, basically, so certain pipes not connected to other pipes. And then if you do have any, they get blown off. and then you have to pick which side of the ship you want to keep, and then you go on essentially a truck, a galaxy trucker, as you are trying to travel through space to deliver goods or whatever, and bits of your ship getting blown off left, right, and centre, and you're just trying to see if you have anything left at the end of the mission, let alone enough to score any points. And the bit why I love this game, and I think it probably is it's one of the memory of me playing this is so ingrained in my mind. I can remember sitting in a board game shop, which unfortunately has long gone out of business. And I remember finishing the game, sitting back, going, "Oh, that was really good," and then just going and buying it like instantly. And it's just like that. The pleasure of like finishing the game helped I won, but the pleasure of finishing the game at the end of this, and I'm like, "Oh, I just really enjoyed that. Just really enjoyed the chaos of it. I just enjoyed like the trying to plan for whatever kind of chaos is coming your way." Just a really good game. Just really, really love it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Galaxy Trucker. It's not on my list. I haven't played it enough, I don't think, but I do like the chaos that you can ensue with it. And building a good engine is hard because you have to build it out in such a way that you're protecting yourself in all sorts of different directions, and you can't plan for it. You just have to hope.
Yes,
which I think is the thing. Yeah, cool. That's our 15th. Let's go to 14. 14.
My 14.
Yes.
14. My 14. My 14 is Stonemaier game, Scythe.
Ah, okay.
So
I thought this would be a lot higher. I was expecting this to be in your top 10.
I think it's just been beaten out by some more recently, at that point anyway, more recently played games. So I think I would anticipate this to really kind of be positioned like 10 or 11 or something like that, but it just got nudged out by a few games that I played a little bit more recently, and I was a bit like, oh, that was fun, I want to put it higher up. I like Scythe. I played it recently with the expansions and stuff, and did it add more for me in the game? No, and I don't feel like I'd ever buy the expansions necessarily. Okay. I'm going really off piste here a little bit because I'm not really explaining what Scythe is, but it was just a thought process I had as I was saying that. So I just like the core game of Scythe because I just think it just scratches an itch basically that none of my other games have. You have a map with hexes on it. You are controlling a faction. Your faction has a special ability, but also you get I'm going to butcher all the actual names for all these things. You have like a randomized action selection board as well. So yours are slightly different to other people's.
Yes.
And what you do is you're picking an action, then you're doing something on the main board related to the action. It might be producing resources or units. It might be building a mech. It might be building a building. It might be moving your units, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And you're trying to control the map. And the little bit of reason why I like it is because it goes into that combat game without needing to necessarily engage in any combat.
Yes.
If that makes sense. So the feel, the look, and everything of it is like, oh, we've got a board. Same reason why Tapestry, I think, is probably up there as well. Is it's a civilization. I've got a faction. I need to beat. I'm trying to beat other people. But you don't need to go for war. You don't need to choose that as a option of victory condition. I think that's really good because I think that's kind of how it happens in real life as well. You don't always necessarily need to wage war on people. You can win them over with, I don't know, love, popularity, words, board games. So yeah, it's. I think it spiked. The popularity spiked, and I think it's dwindled a little bit more globally. I mean, not just with me. But I just always think it's a good game. And I probably always, if someone offers for me to play, I'd play it basically.
I think that the only expansion I would think about, because I was thinking about getting you expansions for Scythe.
Oh, interesting.
At one point, and the only one that I think I would probably look at for you is the one which has variable maps.
Yes,
because it does include in there a map that's designed for or optimized for 2 players.
Or
for a lower player count, so it's a little bit smaller, it's a little bit less all over the place, so you're not quite so done over by your starting placement. I like Scythe. I like Scythe fine. It's a good little game. I'm intrigued to see what Expeditions is like. The follow-up.
Yes.
I've heard it's quite different.
From what I have watched, read, whatever, it's a very different game, really. Just same universe.
Same universe. I know that there's a playthrough from Before You Play are doing one soon. And I think the pre-orders were going out, so we might link it up here. You can go check them out. Monique and Naveen, great people. Yeah, cool. That's your 14. My 14 is very. I mean, it's oddly similar in as much as there's the gathering of resources, there's a bit of area control, there's a bit of fighting for land and resources, and a little bit of asynchronicity with different factions, or perhaps we could call them clans. There's all sorts of things. Clans of Caledonia is my number 14.
Nice.
Which is it's just, you're in Scotland, you've got a different clan that is going out onto different parts of the board, you're moving around and placing down different aspects of your civilization, so whether there'll be sheep or cows, or planting crops, putting down factories so that you can make whiskey or cheese or whatever, and you can just got these different things. You're trying to fulfill different contracts, and you've got a market manipulation that you're doing as part of it, so that you can buy and sell resources by adjusting the different tracks, and obviously the more you sell, the cheaper a resource will get to buy, because there's more of it in the market, but the more of it you buy, the more expensive it becomes. So there's that little element of it. If you position yourself next to your neighbour, you're going to be able to buy stuff from them at a cheaper rate, which is kind of interesting. So you're sort of getting that neighbourly bonus. There's all sorts of different ports that you can access to give you special abilities. Each clan has their own special power, which can wildly vary the experience of a game. Depending on the one you get. There's definitely better clans than others. It might be that we are just not competent enough to know how to use them all properly. That is very much a thing. But yeah, I just think it's a really good game. There is an expansion coming. Has been announced by Karma Games.
Nice, okay.
Which, the only thing I'm sad about is that it won't fit into the box, because the box is tiny.
The box is tiny. I can't get over this, because whenever you see how much game there is, right, and what you do is you go, oh yeah, that must be like, you know, I kind of think, even just like a scythe-sized box, right? You just expect it to be bigger. And yeah, it's just so thin. I think that's what throws me off more than anything. Like, look how thin that game is.
It's ridiculous. It's so small. There's so much stuff in there. But yeah, it's a really good game.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Yeah, it's not on my list or anything, but it's because I think hadn't played it enough when I made the list, basically. And it's definitely a game for me which my opinion of it is improving the more I play it, because the more I understand it, and then the more enjoyment I'm getting out of it. So yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I really enjoy it as well. It's a good game.
Yeah, cracking game. A lot more to come from it, I think. All right, that is our 14s. Let's go to 13. All right, my number 13 is your game of the year from 2021, I think. I think it was your most played game that year, or whether it was that most played, or whether it was just the one that you fell for, and then you introduced us to it and went, oh no, this is going to be an obsession. It is Cartographers.
Yep.
Map drawing game. You've got a flip and right where you're just going to flip over tiles, different terrain. You're going to draw those onto your maps, and you're going to be trying to meet different scoring objectives over the different seasons. There are now, there are 6 different map packs that have been released, plus a Heroes expansion, plus all sorts of different aspects that you can just sort of mix and match in together, and I just think it's a really good game. It's dropped off a little bit, but that's possibly because other games have risen it up. But it's still a really good game, and all the different maps have got different abilities that are really interesting to explore and delve into. And I think it's going to stick around for quite a long time. It's in that role-play universe, so it's a really good one.
I love this game.
You do?
I love this game, and we'll find out probably in the next video. Spoilers. But yeah, I think it's brilliant. I mean, it's at the point where I love it so much I don't even know what to say about it, because I never want to try oversell it. But it's literally a game I can say, hey, you know board games, you'll enjoy this, or hey, you don't know board games, you'll enjoy this. Like it's amazing.
It's such a good little thing. There's all sorts of different things in there. The only thing that I think I don't know.
I don't want to hear anything negative.
Well, the thing that I don't like about it is the heroes.
Okay, yeah.
That's the only thing that kind of bugs me, but that's an easy thing to leave out because
Yes.
this is just my experience. I find that the heroes always seem to come out after or they come out before the monsters come out. So you go, okay, I'm going to place this here on the off chance that something gets put down, and then the ambush card comes out. You pass your map to your opponent, and they just go, "Oh, you've put it there. I'm just going to put it over in the opposite corner where it's useless." And that frustrates me.
So I have played with Heroes quite a few times, and it is a bit hit and miss when they will pop out in comparison to other stuff. But the one complaint that my wife had about this game was the fact that there were monsters, because she's like, I want to create a perfect, beautiful map, and then someone's ruining it basically by dumping something in there.
That's fair.
And this introduced an option where she could undo some of that damage a little bit. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that the timing on it. You almost wanted to like have it in reserve almost for and then use it later or something. That's almost the style. But brilliant game.
Yeah, lots of varieties. I like what they've done with some of the maps. There's one. The Undercity is probably the weakest in my opinion.
Yes.
But I like all of them. Like the floating islands. That's cool.
Yes.
That's a really fun one. Anyway, that's my 13. What's yours, Ross?
So, my 13 is one of the... When I mentioned a minute ago about some newer games which I played quite recently, only really once, but were like made a quite good impact on me. This is one of them, and so's number 12 as well in a second, is Honeybuzz. So I had this on my radar for ages about, I really want to play this game because it's just about bees, and I like bees. And I don't know what it was. I just... I think the thing is, is I play medium to heavier games on the... typically, so I just it was just a nice light game. Just connected with it, basically picking some different, trying to make your honeycomb out, I guess, your hive out, filling it with delicious honey. What's it similar to? It's a bit like I feel a bit mean about saying this, a bit like a better Unearth. So we played Unearth quite recently, and where you're sort of drafting some tiles and you're building up a thing. And I think I quite like that, but then I've played Honeybuzz and gone, well, this is a better version of that, basically.
Yes.
So, I just really enjoy it. And I think, like I say, it made a particular impact on me on that first game, I think. So
yeah, that's fair. I like Honeybuzz. I mean, the first time I played it, I bought it. Last year, Laura and I went to Ready Steady Roll Board Game Cafe in Oxford. No, not Ready Steady Roll. Thirsty Meeples. Ready Steady Roll is a different board game cafe. It's another one that's in Northamptonshire, so go to that if you are in the area. Thirsty Meeples, we played it there, and I bought it immediately. And it's got those really nice little squishy components and all sorts of fun little stuff.
yes.
I've cooled on it a bit. I think from when I first played it, it sort of dropped off a little bit the second time I played it. I think I need to play it again. I definitely need to play it again. And I think it is ripe for expansions. I know there has been one released recently, because I know that there is some stuff onto that. There is a way you could math that game so that you get exactly what you need. It's just something I need to explore a little bit more. That's our 13. So let's go into number 12.
So, as I hinted a minute ago, 12 will be a one which we played, and we played incorrectly, actually. I still do think is up there. You could probably take a guess at this. It's Woodcraft. So,
that made an impression.
Yeah, so if I played it again, would it still be here? I don't know. But we played it wrong, and I still had fun, right?
Yeah.
And we played it, I'd say, quite significantly wrong as well. As in, we made it much harder for ourselves. So we probably played it in hard mode. I think that's probably the way of putting it. Where we were, in fact, how do you even describe it? I guess it's a little bit tableau-y building. It's sort of, because you're picking some bits out. It's a little bit of, basically you're just trying to you're trying to grow some trees, trying to cut them down, then build some things, right? So you want to have particular resources available to you, and then you have like contracts, I guess, almost, that you're trying to fulfill.
Yeah.
In summary. And so we made it much harder because when we went to when we went to trade resources, we were doing it like once basically, but you could do it as many times as you wanted. I think that's
not quite. So
there's
there's a really interesting action selection system where you can pick up and you move a tile around a wheel, and as the actions move around, they get a little bit stronger. And one of the actions is you can go to market to buy stuff. You can spend blueberries to buy resources, and we were going.
Which is weird, by the way. That's the one reservation about this game. Is currency being blueberries is just weird. But anyway, carry on.
It is what it is. And we thought it was you go to market and you can buy. You spend two money, and you get two resources that are different because of the way the icons are showing on the card. What it actually is you can go and you can buy multiples of those resources, spending different amounts of money. So you could buy 2 glue for 2 money, or you could buy 3 glue for 4 or whatever the combination, or 4 glue for 3 money, something like that. And then you could buy another thing on there. So you could buy some scrap wood for like 2 blueberries, and you could get like 2 of those. And we were just doing 1 for 1, so we were making the resource generation for ourselves a lot harder. But I like it because I like it as well. It was on my honourable mentions. The only reason it wasn't on this list is because I hadn't played it at the time I did the list.
Yes, whereas I think I just played it. Like I said, when I made this list, I think it was the week after we played. So,
and I've played it again since. I played it with 4 players, and it's still it's really good. Like playing it properly, it's still real good because you get that really strong engines that you can build from it. You want to try and maximise. You only have 14 actions to do stuff in the game. So you want to try and build yourself into a situation where you can buy more actions or use bonus actions and manipulate the dice that you can use. Because the dice are your consumables in this game. You're trying to use them to... Yeah. They are the wood that you're making to fulfill the contracts.
Yes.
But they have to be exact. You cannot take a 5 green and put it in to substitute for a 4 green. You have to cut it. You can cut it down and split it into a really 4 and a 1, or you can add a scrap to it. You can just bump it up. It's just good. It's so good. It's a really good game. I really like it.
I think it's just that satisfaction, right? Of you have like 2 or 3 turns even just in a row of just kind of doing what you want to do, and as you say, ensuring that your engine's available for you to do the actions that you want to do. And it's just that satisfaction of just like just done everything I need to do. Right, what's the next bit? And then making your plan then to go again. So
really good fun. My number 12 is it's probably going to get the same reaction that I gave to Agricola, to be honest, because it is a game that I know you are not as hot on. It's Wingspan.
Yeah. Okay.
Wingspan is the tableau building. We've played it a lot on the channel. To be honest, we played quite a big chunk of it. I'm a really big fan of Wingspan. The bird tableau building game where you were just playing with birds and you were putting them out onto different action spots, and as you place them out, the actions are getting stronger. So you're getting more resources, you're drawing more birds, you're getting more eggs. There's all sorts of different stuff that you can do with them because there are different powers that the birds will give. So you can build your engine how you like to try and build things in. I understand why you have reservations because because the stack of birds is huge at this point, and I have all 3 expansions that have been released to date, and there is a chunk of birds that you can sort of mix in and shuffle them up. There's all sorts of different powers that get into them. I think you need to try it with the Oceania expansion.
Okay.
Because the Oceania expansion makes it so that the end game is not just lay eggs.
Okay.
Which I think is the biggest criticism that people have of the game. The base game, at least, is that the last few turns are just, I can't do anything else. I'm just going to lay eggs and just get points.
Yes.
Whereas with the Oceania expansion, you've got an area control element of nectar as a wild resource that you can put out into different spaces, and you'll get points for having the area majority into your different sections.
Okay.
So there's a little bit more of a tactical element that goes into it, and there's other new powers that come in at like end of round. And things that are reactionary or at a certain trigger. So there's all sorts of different stuff that's built in. And I quite like the Asia expansion with the duet tokens. It's got like 2-player specific mode. Because I tell you, Wingspan is a good game. I think it needs more than 2. Ideally, because it gets the food generation sort of rolling a little bit more. Because the dice are changing more frequently. I think it's a great 2 to 4 player game. Sorry, 3 to 4 player game. The Asia gives you that duet mode. It also gives you flock mode, which lets you play 7 people, which I think is a little obscene if you can do it. But I mean, it has got 2 people taking their turns simultaneously, so it's not quite so bad, not quite as hefty. But you then have a little area majority thing that you've got going on if you are playing in the 2-player mode, because you can then put out tokens into different spots and actually complete stuff, so you get little bonuses from that. I think it's great. I think Wingspan's really good. I'm looking forward to the Antarctica expansion because I love penguins.
More stuff.
I just want to have
penguins.
I just want to have more penguins in my games. But yeah, I know you have.
I don't think there's many penguin. No, I don't think there's many penguin. Yeah, I mean, I won't bash it because it feels unnecessary to do that. Really, the main kind of one of my big things about it is it feels like it's over before I've begun. So I've just built up a nice engine and I've got everything going, and then it's like, oh, the game's ended. Okay, then, and I'm just a bit like, well, I want to build a nice engine, then I want to be able to use the engine to do something, right? You just don't get the opportunity on it. So
I think that's a criticism of a lot of engine builders. I think you can definitely say that of Steampunk Rally. You can say that of Furnace. Like, they can be around too short.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, I mean, Furnace. I don't know if I can talk much about Furnace, but Steampunk Rally, right? Though, at least you can progress as you're going along a little bit still. Anyway, it's just I don't know. The other thing as well, which is probably much smaller and more specific to me, is the same reason why I'm not as big of a fan of Red Rising, is because you can make a strategy and then the cards could never come out. And at least with Wingspan, it does tell you, I'm pretty sure it tells you the percentages, doesn't it, on the scoring cards of how common the birds are. So that's a good change. But yeah, you might just be like, oh yeah, I'll grab this one, I don't know, birds with colours in their names, and then birds with colour in their names could never come out of that deck.
Yeah.
And there's not really, because there's so many birds, there's not really an opportunity to plough through the entire deck to search for the card that you want. Anyway, so but yeah.
Got to build a bird engine.
Yes. Yeah. So it's good, but it's just
you've got better games. Your disdain for it is lesser than my disdain for Agricola, I think.
Yes.
I think you will happily play Wingspan.
Yes.
You'll probably
grumble about it afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. You'll grumble about it afterwards. You're like, whereas I'll just go, let's play something else if we can for Agricola, because I don't want to spend 2 hours doing that.
Yes.
Sort of thing. But anyway,
that's fair.
That's our number 12, so let's go into the final game of this list. Before we get into the truly best games of all time, let's go into our number 11s. All right, number 11. My number 11 is a game that is probably I think it's entirely possible that it's the only Knizia game that I actively enjoy at the moment.
Sure.
I haven't played a huge amount of Ryan Knizia's games, but I think it's the only one that I actively enjoy at the moment. It is Witchstone. Which is a game where you are playing as a coven of witches, and you are putting these sort of hexamino tiles into, or these 2 little tiles, effectively these domino-like things, into a cauldron, and you are then triggering the actions based on how many of the connected action types you have. Yeah. So you get like, I can do the crystal action, and I can play out, I've got 7 of them, so I can put out 7 crystals into the map, and I can just build out this really nice big engine, this chain of it. I just find it a very satisfying puzzle because I just go, okay, these are the tiles I have. What can I do to best get this, and this? Or I can go up the wands track a bunch, or I can position myself so that when I go up this, I do this action 3 times, then it triggers this action that I can do twice, and then I can go back and I can do a bit more of this action, I can do a 3rd action, and it's just... It's very, very satisfying. I find it a lot of fun. And it's really nice and tactile. And you get the tiles out in place, and you can just go, I can get some really fun, powerful combos out of this. I just think it's a really good game.
I've only played it once, and that's probably why it's not on... I say that some of these other games are, but it's probably not on there. But I think I enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think it might have been we played it amongst other games, and so it might have just got lost a bit in my mind when we played it.
Yeah, we had a game.
I definitely want to be up for playing again, because you're right. It's just the puzzle in it's good. The puzzle in it's really good.
Yeah, it's good fun. And it's good to be able to then go, okay, well, I can do this, and I can get this instant card that lets me do this, and I can do all these things. It's,
Yes. Yes.
Very satisfying. Anyway, that's my number 11. Short and sweet, because we've waffled on a bit. So what is your number 11, Ross?
Talking of puzzles, mine is a puzzle. As I'm going to attempt to pronounce them, probably someone's on the internet is going to call me out for. Tiwanaku.
Okay, Tiwanaku. Yeah.
Yes. So obviously, I picked up from the physical copy from the expo. I've probably already played it like 4 times since picking it up. So like, it's pretty. That's kind of a good indicator, isn't it? Obviously, we played it quite a lot on BGA as well. Yeah, I mean, it's how to describe it. You're playing Minesweeper and Sudoku, I guess, rolled into one, but with a really pretty theme and components behind it. I mean, obviously the big draw, the big like selling point of it is this beautiful dial that you spin and then open windows to see if you've got the puzzle right or not. But essentially, you're trying to find the you're placing terrain tiles down, and then the more variety of terrain you discover, the more points you'll score for it, because you're trying to keep it in touch. And then also you're trying to guess what number is on there, and essentially you can boil the puzzle down to things not being adjacent. So you know that grass terrain isn't necessarily going to be adjacent to other grass terrain, so you can take a guess at where those are. And then there's numbers 1 typically through to 5, and you know that they're not going to be adjacent. So then you basically are trying to figure out, well, if this one's here, then I know it's not there, which means that it must be here instead. And trying to suss it out. So yeah, I like a puzzle game. It's really pretty. It's one that I can be like, hey, you don't know board games, but you do know Sudoku, so have a punt at this basically. Really good, really good.
I really like it. I think it fits into that same sort of vein as something like Decorum.
Yes.
Where you're just trying to suss out from information, but instead of it being cooperative, you're competitive. You're trying to. Although you can play it co-op, can't you?
There is a co-op version. There is, yes.
And I think it's hilarious how every time we seem to play it, we end up playing it semi-cooperatively.
We do. Yes, we do.
We somehow spend like good 10 minutes just mid-game going, okay, well, that's here, so it can't be this, so this must be here.
Yes.
And it just helping each other for some reason.
Yes.
I don't know why we keep doing that.
Yeah.
It certainly happens. It happens when I played it with the ladies at the pub.
I think it's just because you get to the point, right, where everyone kind of knows the answers, so you're all just like reassuring each other that you're all equally as intelligent as each other. We've all solved this puzzle, right? Yeah, I've solved it. It's this thing here. And like, that's a great job. Oh, and if this is here, then that must be there. And then everyone goes like, yeah, that is right. And so you just end up. But yeah, so it's good.
One of those things. Yeah, it's a good one. And it's like Decorum, I think it's one of those that you can play, you can repeat, even if you have solved the puzzle. Because let's be honest, you're never going to remember.
Yeah, no. And there's I bought the bonus puzzles as well, right? And I can't remember how many there are now. There must be like 42 puzzles or something in the box. So unless you're literally playing all of them every day, you're just never going to remember the.
Well, I think also I reckon if you after you've played them in order, just so you don't lose the place. If you just shuffled them and then dealt them randomly, you wouldn't be able to keep track of them. So that'd solve the problem easily enough. Cool. That is our 20s to 11. Let us know what falls in your teenage range, if that's what you're into, and what sort of games feature on your list, and see whose list you think is better. I think mine personally, but there you go.
I think you know what I will hands up. I think you this round. You have had a stronger selection because a lot of mine have been like.
I played this once.
Passion or gut, or I played it once or whatever, and rather than. But I'm going to smash you for 1 to 10.
I don't know. I know where your number 1 is on my list, so it hasn't come up yet. So let's be honest, we know that that's coming up for both of us.
Yes.
So yeah, cool. Right, thanks everyone, and we will see you next time. If you enjoyed this, like it, subscribe it, do all the things that you like to do with these board game video stuff.
Share it.
Share it. Let people know about us. Yeah, we're doing some stuff. Admittedly, a lot of people are doing this, but it also, I think, if you're here, it's nice to know that other people are thinking the same thoughts as you.
Agree with us.
Yeah, it's always useful. But yeah, until next time, thank you everyone. Check out some of our other videos that are probably bouncing around somewhere, and we will see you next time. Bye!